What is up, everybody? Snaggle J here, general manager, owner, hype man of your TGS Cincinnati Reds. And ladies and gentlemen, it is opening day. 2032 opening day is here. The first sim of the season is tonight. And I thought, you know what? Why not toss together on this beautiful Friday morning a season preview episode of Big Red Machine? So, the last episode, we covered the majority of what we did in the offseason. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot that occurred after that, the last video that we made. I don't think, I can't remember if this Jock Matson deal happened before or after. This was, we picked up Matson for 2 years, 12 and a half, option for the second year. So essentially, we're on the hook for $8 million. He is very popular, which is nice. It got our fan interest. I think in the last video, our fan interest was in the high 70s. We're up to 86, I think, now. Matson's going to fit into our bullpen. He does have starter capability if some guys go down. Should be pretty solid for us. Again, this is partly getting an extra guy in the bullpen, but partly also trying to improve our fan interest. Let's take a look. Front office, yeah, 86. So I'd love to see that. And then our second biggest signing of the offseason after Guardiola is we signed Ted Potasic to a 3-year, $20 million deal. So again, a lot of people were kind of on the fence about, based on some conversation that I saw about Potasic being a starter, Potasic being a reliever. I was targeting him mostly as a high leverage reliever. Obviously, again, he does have the borderline starter tag, does have the ability to start, has 2 great pitches and a couple of secondary. But you look, no one's really starting him. You look at his he hasn't really started more. I mean, he started 10 games back here. 9 of them were for the Yankees. We did have Potasic way back in the day. Again, he has had a very interesting career trajectory. Yes, he has a career 4.19 ERA, but he also has a career 2.33 opponent's batting average. Obviously, the walks are killer with his control. 5.4 walks per 9. He only gives up 7.9 hits per 9 and 11.3 Ks per 9. So, he has a high risk, high reward. Again, 3 years, 20 million, probably a bit on the aggressive side, but we've got buyouts for both of these years. So at the very minimum, we're on the hook for just over 8 million. Again, we do have team options for these other years, so hopefully it pans out. We're going to use him in tandem in the back of our bullpen with Guardiola to kind of give us some high leverage stuff. Obviously, his stuff bumps up to an 80, and might be an excessive 80. I think as a starter, it's 70. So he jumps to an 80 as a reliever. So we'll see what that does. Again, they're this is just the cost of doing business sometimes. I said we were going to, definitely try to improve, what we had going on out there in the pitching staff, and hopefully we've been able to do that. One last minor signing was we did pick up CJ Champion very, very late in the spring training, March 25th, literally just this sim. I was looking for another lefty specialist. Again, he does significantly better against lefties, 80, 45, 55. He's only going to be used against lefties. That is the play. You look at his V left in his career, 3.36 ERA across 61 and a third innings, 82 strikeouts, 11 walks, 221, and a 102 whip against lefties. So he will be our lefty specialist down there, something that we desperately needed. We struck out on a few other ones along the way, so it was nice to get one. So let's take a look at kind of where our opening day roster is and some big decisions we made. So kind of highlighted in a previous video, we had some difficult decisions, especially in the outfield. We really came into spring with several different ways the outfield could be deployed. I will say, when we got late into the spring, I think when I made the last video, and so that was, in early, mid-February in game, I was very much in the camp of I was going to let Figueroa, go to the minors, stay there for, a couple of months, manipulate the service time, and I would deploy a variety of solutions in the corner outfield. I think we had, Dex Pape and Zavarella, and we had bodies that we could have put out there. V Lel, V Right. Could have, I think we were looking at probably a Dex Pape, Alex Andrade platoon in one of the corners. But at the end of the day, you know what? Figueroa comes in, and I don't know if we can still get to them or not. Can we? I don't think we can. Get this spring. Oh, maybe here. Game type spring training. Yeah. So you can see he hits 383 in the spring. OPS is just over 1,000 in 60 at bats. He goes 23 for 60, has 9 runs, 4 homers. The biggest reason for keeping Figueroa is he makes our versus left lineup so much better. 70, 60, 60, 45, 50 against lefties, which is just an absolute animal. He makes our VL lineup a million times better, and that is something that we really, really struggled against last year was lefties. So having Figueroa makes our versus left lineup a lot more dangerous because, again, the alternative is someone like Andrade who, is not terrible against lefties, but, I mean, he's not rolling out there with we have enough power guys. You look at our lineup versus left, you've got Nickerson rolling out there with 65 power. You got Redford Jones, who's a better VL guy. Like, let's just see batting ratings, power versus left. So, I mean, you got Nickerson with 70, Andrade 60, Jones with 60, Carlson 50 flips. We got enough power versus lefties. You throw a guy out there, again, the only guy with 70 contact versus left. So for me, you know what? Let's get it going. Figueroa is a plus defender in the corner. He's not going to hurt us against righties either with a pretty solid contact rating there. He's going to pair nicely with Jaden Krause at the top of the order. Really, really looking forward to seeing what Figueroa is going to be able to do. Our number 1 draft pick last year, 8th overall, going to be making his debut tonight. Another kind of move that we made is we're starting Jaden Krause against righties at third base. He doesn't have the traditional third base profile, 55, 50, 50, 55, but you know what? I'm willing to punt the defense to get his bat in the lineup, and also have Lucas Schwab in the lineup at the same time. So the alternative here is Redford Jones would have played third against righties, and Schwab would just sit on the bench. Again, Schwab, also a very plus defender, a couple of gold gloves to his name. But again, he's a V-right guy. I don't know how long this deployment will last. Schwab's probably a one-and-done guy for us. He does have an opt-out at the end of the year. He's pushing 30. We have a lot of corner outfield options. But I think this right now probably gives us the best overall V-right lineup. And then Redford Jones checks in against lefties. Krause moves into the outfield. Schwab sits on the bench. I am very interested to see what TJ Nickerson is going to do. I have been hyping him up. He came from virtually out of nowhere after being a 12th rounder in 2030. You can see where his scouting path has gone. He has been moving up to the moon. You can see he popped after the draft here. He popped, 20 potential power, 20 potential eye, popped a whole bunch of potential contact. Listen, he's going to be a 220 hitter and hit 40 home runs if all goes well. And in the lineup that we have, I think that might be exactly what we need. We tried the Segura-Mondesi combo last year. Neither of them had really good years, but did anybody on the Reds have a good year? No. I am very, very interested to see what he does. In spring training, he had 8 homers, 20 RBIs, OPS 1185. Obviously, this is, spring training, so huge grain of salt here. But again, I think for Nickerson, if we could get, an average, especially where he still has 5 contact, 10 power, and 5 eye to go, like, I think we might be maybe jumping the gun a little bit here with him, but I just don't think he has anything left to prove in the minors. He had 29 home runs in the minors last year. He had 255 and OPS 885 in Double-A. I just don't think he has anything left to prove down there. So we're going to run him out there as our DH. I think a win for TJ Nickerson would be if he keeps the batting average above 200 and he hits 30 or more home runs. I think we call that a win for us. Again, when you look at the lineup and what we have around him, I mean, Vince Thompson is just an absolute wild animal against righties. He could hit 300 against righties and hit 40 home runs. I think we can afford to have a guy in this lineup where, we're punting the average a bit for a guy who can break a game open with a 3-run shot. We have Krause, who, is very, very strong versus right. Thompson is very strong versus right. Figueroa, no slouch versus right. And then you have, some guys who are a bit lesser. Obviously, Grishaber, who had a really, really good debut in the latter half of last season, where he slugged .550 and hit 5 homers in the last 24 games. I like what TJ Nickerson could do to our lineup. Again, he hits very well against lefties, which is something that we struggle with. He is going to have stretches where he's going to hit 175, 170. It's going to happen. We're going to have to learn to live with that. But I'm looking forward to see what he can do. Another guy, we have a new shortstop this year. So Brian Daenzer, after being an all-star for us 2 years ago, absolutely fell off a cliff last year, ended up a negative wins above replacement player, hit sub 200. We're going to transition him into more of a defensive role. Again, you look, he's got 75 infield range, 75 outfield range, so defensive guy is what he's going to be. And we're going to give Eldon Fastnack the chance here to show what he can do. Again, had a pretty good spring, hit 250. He's not going to hit a ton. He's going to hit more than Daenzer did, but again, he's got good speed. He's got very good infield defense. I think this is a bit of an upgrade for us. Again, is he going to hit 300? No. Is he going to hit 250? Probably not. But you know what? He's going to give us a little bit more with the bat. We're still going to get that speed that we got with Daenzer, which is probably one of the only things he brought to the table after he lost the 80 range. So he's going to hit a little more, give us similar defense and similar speed. So all in all, it seems like a pretty good trade. So I really like where we're at here. I really, really like, where our lineups are at. Again, obviously the big subtractions are Mondesi and Segura, who, were two big forces in the lineup. Replacing them as regulars with Thompson and Nickerson, I think overall is an upgrade. We've got pretty much everyone in our lineup is controllable. I think the only guys that are coming up, obviously Schwab is going to have a decision. I think Ledford is only just going to hit arbitration, or I think he hits arbitration 2 next year. We have pretty much this entire lineup for minus Lucas Schwab for the next 3 years. Which is, I think Krause hits arbitration just this year for the first time. So, I mean, we've got if this works out, we've got a 3-year lineup here. We'll find somebody else to play left field against lefties. I'm sure we probably have somebody in the org who's, Guy Cote could be that guy. Guy Cote could be Lucas Schwab's replacement. I feel like we're in a spot now where we've got our lineup set, everything's kind of set in stone, and we can obviously, there's going to be guys that are not going to work out, they're not going to fit, and we can make upgrades, but everything's kind of set, which is great. We go to the pitching side. Obviously, things on the pitching side, not as ideal. We're rolling with a 4-man rotation just for the early part of the season because we have a 4-game series, and then we have an off day. and then we're going to reassess kind of what to do. I think my plan is going to be we're going to run, the fifth guy when we need him, and obviously run four guys when possible. Um, I think that's going to be the play. Obviously, again, the first weekend series with 4 games and then an off day, we're going to run a 4-man, and then we're going to look at our rotation, our deployment prior to the Sunday sim. But we need a bounce back year from Ken Jacobson. He's over the 30 mark now. We're paying him big money. He's got a player opt out at the end with $40 million guaranteed on the backside. We need him to be better this year than a 584. Again, there were some things to like here, but overall, not a great season. He had an injury in the middle there. Hopefully, we'll be able to get a bit more out of him. Lower the walks, especially that walk rate. I mean, almost 4, which is I'd like to see that down closer to like this 3.1 that he had in AAA that one time. Again, even down, his career high is 3.2. I'd even take I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but 3.8 to 3.5, that's, over the course of season, that's like 10, 15 walks. That's not nothing. Obviously being in double digit hits per 9, not great either. And hopefully some of the upgrades we made defensively can help with that. Harvey Knopp, who is probably our best signing of the offseason for a 1-year, $5.5 million deal. He had a great spring, really, really, really good spring for us, where he had 295 and 21 and a third innings, pitching solid, under 300 batting average against. Again, we're going to look for him to eat a lot of innings with that 70 stamina, 50, 70, 50. So hopefully he's going to be able to limit the home runs for us. Looking forward to seeing what he can do. At the very least, if things fall off the rails, probably an enticing trade piece. To sell at the deadline, which I hate already thinking about that. But you know what? In when you're building a team, this is the kind of thing you have to be concerned about. He could be a guy that some teams, especially teams who are in more homer-suppressed parks, or not homer-suppressed park, homer-prone parks, might find this profile interesting. So we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Newland Boyle is back for year number 2. Again, I think he pitched better. Obviously, giving up 11.7 hits per 9, not great. But he still had 2.5 wins above replacement. There were some really nice things. His FIP was a run and a quarter lower than his actual ERA. I do think, I think the ground out percentage is going to go up. I don't think 46% is indicative of the ground out percentage he's capable of throwing up there. I think you're going to see the walk percentage remain low, which will be nice. Obviously, I think this 340 BABIP will come down with a little bit better defense, and maybe a little bit more cautiousness on the pitching, the number of pitches he throws. I still think Newland Boyle could be really good for us. He's never going to be an ace, but he could be the kind of guy that throws 175, 180 innings at 2.5 to 3 wins above, which is what he did last year, and just keep us in ball games. And again, hope that our offense, he's going to pitch in games where he's going to give up, 5 runs, and we're going to need to score 6 to win. And I think we have the team to do it. So I look forward to Newland Boyle taking another step forward here in his sophomore season. Donovan Eisler was a guy we picked up in the trade with Texas as part of the Modesty deal, right? Yep, him and Shabazz Green. Shabazz Green, by the way, for those who are wondering, where is he? He's hurt. He got hurt in spring training. He's out for 6 weeks. He will have to find a spot. He's probably going to be, our 5th guy once he comes back. That'll sort of solidify our rotation at 5. But again, he's going to be out until the middle of May. So we're going to have to make do in the meantime. Anyway, Eisler, a nice back of the rotation piece. He is a great personality with the spark plug and 4 green traits. I love that. I think he has maybe more potential in the bullpen. Once everything is all said and done here, he might end up in the bullpen once everybody's healthy and we sort of see how everything's going. But for now, we're going to run him out there as our number 4 guy. He's got, a plus fastball, good slider, good changeup. He's got good movement and control. Again, I just think maybe that extra 5-10 stuff would play a little bit better in the bullpen, but we're going to see. Again, right now we don't really have much choice but other than to have them in the rotation. So with our bullpen, obviously we got the two big guys at the back. Our $30 million, $25 million combo of Potasic and Guardiola, who are going to be busy, 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 busy. And again, I think for us, the one thing, as I enter my 5th season in this league, this is by far the most legitimate bullpen I've ever had. You look back at, some of the guys that we've had. Obviously, in my first year, um, things were not great. We had guys like Hancock was a guy that we picked up that stole the show. Swanson did really well. But, these were, Signs, Manson. These were never, top tier guys. You look at some of the years, like last year especially, where, we had, let's go to games here. Zacone is, I think, the only guy. Zacone and Allman, are they the only guys we still have from the bullpen last year? Gaspard doesn't really count because we started him. Well, Mullins we picked up late. But again, we've never, in the 4 years going on 5 that I've never had a bullpen with this sort of legitimate talent in it. Could it be better? Yes. Could we have gotten an electric lefty? Yes. Did we try really hard to get one? Yes. Did we fail? Yes. Obviously, if the season goes on and we're anywhere near being in contention, this is going to be where we're going to have to upgrade, I think, is to get a lefty. Obviously, again, we just picked up CJ Champion, but we got Potasic and Guardiola on the back end. Zacone's back for his 2nd season after throwing almost 100 innings last year at 379. Love that. Matson slots back in there. Again, we'll get some good run out of him. He's got an electric fastball. He's got really good bullpen stuff, I think, so that'll be good to see. Kip Mullins makes it back for another year, a guy we picked up in a trade with. I think he was basically a throw-in in the Wyatt McCafferty trade, which is fantastic for us. He had a really good run after we picked him up. I mean, not great. I think he blew a couple of games late. I think he started really well. He also pitched pretty well in the spring, if I remember correctly. Yep, 071 across 12 and 2/3. Again, he's pitching in relief, so he's facing the 2nd and 3rd stringers for most guys. So, James Gaspard, who I continue to not know what to do with. Again, he had a interesting season as a swingman last year, got beat around a lot, negative wins above replacement, and then he comes in the spring and he throws up, 22 innings at a 1.64 with 26 Ks, doesn't walk a single batter in 22 innings, which is just even facing 2nd and 3rd string guys is crazy. So again, he's probably going to be for now kind of our 5th starter / swingman guy. And then we got our couple of specialists. Kieran Allman, who has carried a lot of water for this team over the last few years where we've struggled. Again, he has 60 career saves for us. He's going to move into more of a V right specialist role, and then we've got Champion in our VL specialist role. So again, maybe the most legitimate pitching staff that I've had since I've been involved with this team. As you can see, on the right side here, we do have some money to add. We have a couple of minor league with major league option offers out there to try to bolster up our minor league ranks. But I feel like, and I hate saying this because you guys know anything can happen in this game, I feel like this is the most legitimate team I've had since I started. I feel like a lot of this, maybe not on the pitching side, because almost all of these guys, with the exception of Newland Boyle, were guys we traded for or signed as free agent. Newland Boyle, the only guy in here that in the pitching staff that is a draftee by me. But I feel like this is the best team I've had since I, got in here at the end of 2027. What's that going to translate to? We'll get to that in a few minutes. I did want to just give a spin around the old minors here real quick. Just to highlight some guys that I think you should keep your eye on, possibly. I don't know. Couple of guys that I'm really keeping my eye on. Obviously, Henderson Cadillo, who was a guy that we picked up in a trade from Atlanta in the offseason. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Obviously, the clock is running out for him to develop. It's really, really running out, so he's going to have to kind of show some pop in here early. I'm still excited to see what Cash Falls is going to do. I know a lot of people I talk to are kind of down on him, don't really like him, but I'm interested to see what he's going to do. I think, you know what, he could be a guy that if we do end up with some injuries, we could toss him in there, and I think he wouldn't do terrible. I'm interested to see kind of where he goes. Obviously, Guy Cote continues to be a guy that someday we're going to have to find him at bats in the major leagues on the regular, I think. Coming off hitting 25 homers in Double-A last year, he's going to go back down there and anchor that lineup again. In terms of pitching, I think really the only guy that I'm like invested in that I think you should keep an eye on is Tommy Walde. He's almost fully developed here. He's got some room to go on the fastball, which I think is maybe the thing I like about him the most. If he can develop his fastball, maybe pop it up to, say, 50 stuff and be a 50, 70, 60 guy. Again, wishful thinking. But he had a really good winter ball season, 244, went 8-4, 4.5 wins above replacement. He had 5.1 wins above replacement in high rookie, and that was after being drafted. I mean, he was only drafted in, June. So after he got drafted and signed, he just put up a tidy 5 wins above replacement. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if he can be a guy. Again, our pitching just continues to be absolutely abysmal. I want to just the horrendous preseason predictions. These are the in-game ones. Obviously, if you're in TGS, you're paying more attention to the stuff that the guys are putting out. But let's have a look here. Look at this. The Jays on top of the AL. The poor old White Sox down here. Does Wayne Adams make the difference in Toronto? We look over here on this side. The game has us at 80 and 82, which, baby. It is, the time of the year where people are putting out their prediction systems. So I'm going to make some predictions of my own. I think that Toronto wins the American League and will be the American League representative in the World Series. I think the Phillies will be the National League representative in the World Series. I think we're going to get a Toronto-Philly World Series. And obviously, I have to pick the National League team. I think the Phillies win the World Series because I just can't pick an AL team. That would just be there'd be like antitrust lawsuits filed against me if I picked an AL team to win the World Series. I would say everyone always asks me, the biggest question I get, what would you consider a success this season? I think, obviously, last year, a lot of the prediction metrics had us in the 73 to 78 win category. We won 56. A couple of the, predictors that I've seen so far have us in the same window that we were in last year. 73, 75, 76 wins. I think for me, 75 wins this season would be a success. Plus 19 from last year. I think the National League is super tight. I think, a team that is predicted to go with 75 wins could easily win 70, could easily win 80, and stretch beyond that. I think if we can hit 75 wins, that would be considered a win. I would love to play meaningful games in August and September, and not sell off my entire team at the deadline. I would love to not do that. I would love to play meaningful August-September games. I have not played meaningful August and September games yet. But honestly, in trying to be like full disclosure honest type, I still think we're a few pieces away. I still think we need that number one ace starter. I know, it's a unicorn. It doesn't exist. I answered in DRC's survey that, to me, the biggest miss that we had the offseason was not being able to trade for Logan Voisin. I feel like, and again, this is my opinion, I feel like we made a better offer for Voisin than what Tampa got. That's my own opinion. Obviously, the Rays management felt otherwise. But I do think, for us, I think to get over the hump, we need to find that number one guy. That guy that when you need to win a game, when you need someone to stop a losing streak, he's there. He's your ace. He's your horse. He's your stud. We don't have that guy. We've never had that guy. Even back when we had Kjamet, who was coming off a Cy Young season. I mean, he wasn't that guy. He pitched way above his weight. He was never that guy. And we haven't had that guy. And that guy doesn't exist a whole lot across this league. There's maybe 4 to 6 pitchers that you look at as that guy. We need to find a way to get one of them, I think, is or something of that ilk. So, I really think this is going to be a step forward for us. I don't think, we're a playoff team. But I do think we're going to be playing some meaningful games, at least through August and maybe early part of September. But we'll see. I hope everybody enjoys opening day. I hope everybody's looking forward to it. I hope everybody has all of your dreams come true and the dice rolls all go your way in the 2032 season. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Big Red Machine. And until next time, keep swinging for the fences.